What if I told you that in just 21 days, you could completely transform who you are? Not just change a few habits or tweak your routine, but actually become a fundamentally different person. Someone more confident, more successful, more disciplined, and more aligned with the life you've always wanted to live. Most people will tell you that real change takes years, maybe decades. They'll say you need to be patient, that transformation is a slow process, that you should manage your expectations. But those people are wrong. They're stuck in the same limiting beliefs that have kept 99% of the population trapped in mediocrity their entire lives. The truth is, every single day, people around the world are experiencing radical transformations. People who were broke become millionaires. People who were shy become confident leaders. People who felt lost find their purpose and completely reinvent their lives. And many of them do it in a matter of weeks, not years. The difference isn't luck, talent, or circumstances. The difference is understanding how transformation actually works at the deepest level of human psychology and neuroscience. When you understand the real mechanics of change, 21 days isn't just possible, it's inevitable. This isn't another motivational speech filled with empty promises. This is a scientific, systematic approach to human transformation that will give you the exact tools, strategies, and mindset shifts you need to become the person you've always known you could be. By the end of these 21 days, the old you won't just be improved, it will be completely obsolete. Chapter 1. The 21-Day Myth and Why It Actually Works. Let me start by destroying the biggest lie you've been told about personal transformation. You've probably heard that it takes 21 days to form a habit. And you've probably tried to use this principle to change your life. Maybe you tried to work out for 21 days straight, or meditate, or wake up early. And when it didn't stick, when day 22 came and you fell back into your old patterns, you blamed yourself. You thought you lacked willpower, discipline, or commitment. But here's what nobody told you. The 21-day rule was never about surface-level habits. It was discovered by Dr. Maxwell Maltz, a plastic surgeon who noticed that his patients took approximately 21 days to adjust to their new appearance after surgery. This wasn't about brushing their teeth or going to the gym. This was about their fundamental self-image, their core identity shifting to accept a new reality. The real power of 21 days isn't in forming habits. It's in rewiring your identity. And when you understand this distinction, everything changes. Because habits come and go, but identity transformation is permanent. When you change who you are at the core level, the behaviors, the choices, the lifestyle, all follow automatically. Think about it this way. If you truly saw yourself as a healthy person, would you really struggle to eat well? If you genuinely believed you were successful, would you really struggle to take the actions that create success? If you knew in your bones that you were confident and capable, would you really hesitate to speak up, take risks, or pursue your dreams? The answer is no. The only reason you struggle with these things is because deep down, your current identity is fighting against these changes. Your subconscious mind, which controls 95% of your daily thoughts and actions, is working overtime to keep you consistent with who you currently believe you are. But here's where it gets interesting. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's imagined. It only responds to what you consistently feed it. If you've been feeding it the same story about yourself for years, that's what it accepts as truth. But if you deliberately and systematically feed it a new story, a new identity, a new version of yourself, it will accept that as truth just as readily. This is why 21 days is actually the perfect time frame. It's long enough to override old neural pathways and establish new ones, but short enough that your conscious mind can maintain focus and commitment without getting overwhelmed. It's the sweet spot where neuroplasticity meets psychological momentum. The key is understanding that you're not trying to change what you do for 21 days. You're changing who you are for 21 days. You're not practicing new habits. You're practicing a new identity. You're not trying to act differently. You're trying to be different. And when being different becomes your new normal, acting differently becomes effortless. Most people fail at transformation because they focus on the externals while ignoring the internals. They try to change their behavior while keeping the same mindset. They try to change their actions while maintaining the same beliefs about themselves. It's like trying to change the fruit while keeping the same roots. It doesn't work. But when you flip the script, when you start with identity and let behavior follow, transformation becomes inevitable. When you spend 21 days not just doing different things, but actually becoming a different person, you create a shift so fundamental that going back to your old self becomes literally impossible. This is what separates the 1% who create lasting transformation from the 99% who try and fail over and over again. The 1% understand that change happens from the inside out, not the outside in. They know that lasting transformation is about becoming, not just doing. So as we embark on this 21-day journey together, understand that we're not just changing your routine or your habits. We're changing your identity. We're changing how you see yourself, how you think about yourself, and ultimately, who you are at the deepest level. And when that changes, everything else changes with it. Chapter 2. The Identity Shift. Becoming who you're meant to be. Your identity is the most powerful force in your life. It's the invisible hand that guides every decision you make, every action you take, and every result you create. Most people never question their identity because they don't even realize they have one. They think they're just being themselves, never understanding that their current self is nothing more than a collection of beliefs, stories, and patterns that were installed in them over years of conditioning. But here's what changes everything. Your identity is not fixed. It's not written in stone. It's not determined by your genes, your past, or your circumstances. Your identity is a choice. It's a story you tell yourself about who you are. And like any story, it can be rewritten. Right now, you have an identity that's keeping you stuck. Maybe you see yourself as someone who struggles with confidence, someone who's not good with money, someone who's unlucky in relationships, or someone who just can't seem to get their life together. These aren't facts about you. They're beliefs about you. And beliefs, no matter how deeply held, can be changed. The problem is that most people try to change their results while keeping the same identity. They want to be successful while still seeing themselves as a failure. They want to be confident while still believing they're not good enough. They want to be wealthy while still identifying as someone who struggles with money. This creates an internal conflict that sabotages every effort at change. Your subconscious mind is like a thermostat. It works tirelessly to keep you consistent with your current identity. If you see yourself as someone who makes $50,000 a year, and suddenly you start making $100,000, your subconscious will find ways to bring you back down. It will create emergencies that require you to spend money or make you unconsciously sabotage your income, or create situations that feel familiar and comfortable to your current identity. This is why lottery winners often end up broke within a few years. This is why people who lose weight often gain it back. This is why people who try to change their lives often find themselves right back where they started. They changed their circumstances without changing their identity. But when you change your identity first, everything else follows naturally. When you truly see yourself as successful, you automatically make successful decisions. When you genuinely believe you're worthy of love, you naturally attract healthier relationships. When you know in your core that you're capable and confident, you instinctively take actions that reinforce that reality. The question is, who do you want to become? Not what do you want to achieve, not what do you want to have, but who do you want to be? Because once you're clear on that, the path forward becomes obvious. Maybe you want to become someone who's naturally confident and charismatic. Maybe you want to become someone who's financially abundant and successful. Maybe you want to become someone who's healthy, energetic, and disciplined. Maybe you want to become someone who's peaceful, fulfilled, and purposeful. Whatever it is, you need to get crystal clear on this new identity. But here's the crucial part. You can't wait until you feel ready to step into this new identity. You can't wait until you have evidence that you're this person. You can't wait until it feels natural or comfortable. You have to start being this person now, even while your current circumstances suggest otherwise. This is what I call identity rehearsal. You start practicing being the person you want to become before you actually become them. You start thinking like them, speaking like them, carrying yourself like them, and making decisions like them. At first, it will feel like you're pretending or acting. That's normal. Every actor feels awkward when they first step into a new role, but the more they practice, the more natural it becomes. Your new identity needs to be specific, compelling, and emotionally charged. It's not enough to say, I want to be successful. Success means different things to different people. You need to define exactly what kind of person you're becoming. What do they think about? How do they carry themselves? What decisions do they make? How do they respond to challenges? What's their energy like? What are their values? What's their daily routine? The more detailed and vivid you can make this new identity, the more your subconscious mind can grab onto it and start making it real. You're essentially creating a character that you're going to step into and embody for the next 21 days. And just like any character, the more you practice being them, the more natural it becomes. But there's a deeper layer to this. Your new identity isn't just about how you see yourself. It's about how you relate to the world. When you shift your identity, you shift your entire reality. You start noticing different things, attracting different opportunities, and experiencing different results. The world doesn't change, but your perception of it does. And in practical terms, that's the same thing. This is why identity transformation is so powerful. It's not just personal development. It's reality creation. When you change who you are, you change what's possible for you. You change what you're capable of. You change what you deserve. You change everything. So for the next 21 days, you're not going to be working on improving yourself. You're going to be practicing being the person you're meant to become. You're going to be rehearsing a new identity until it becomes so natural, so automatic, so integrated into your being that it's no longer an act. It's just who you are. Chapter 3. Breaking the chains of your past self. Before you can become who you're meant to be, you have to break free from who you've been. This isn't just about changing your behavior or adopting new habits. This is about dismantling the invisible prison that your past self has built around your current possibilities. Most people don't realize they're living in this prison because the bars are made of beliefs, and beliefs are invisible until you learn to see them. Your past self created a version of reality that made sense given the information, experiences, and conditioning available at the time. If you grew up in an environment where money was scarce, your past self-developed beliefs about money being hard to come by. If you experienced rejection or criticism, your past self developed beliefs about not being good enough. If you watched the adults around you struggle with relationships, your past self developed beliefs about love being complicated and painful. These beliefs weren't wrong given the context in which they were formed. They were actually intelligent adaptations to the environment you found yourself in. Your past self was doing the best they could with what they had. But here's the problem. Those beliefs are still running your life today, even though your circumstances, your capabilities, and your understanding have completely changed. You're essentially living your life through the lens of outdated software. Imagine trying to run today's most advanced applications on a computer from the 1990 seconds. It would crash, freeze, and malfunction constantly. That's what's happening in your life when you try to create modern success with ancient programming. The first step in breaking free is recognizing what these limiting beliefs actually are. Most people have never taken the time to examine their own belief systems because beliefs feel like facts. They don't feel like opinions or perspectives. They feel like reality itself. If you believe you're not good enough, it doesn't feel like a belief. It feels like an objective truth about yourself. But every belief you have about yourself, about money, about relationships, about success, about what's possible for you, is nothing more than a story you've been telling yourself for so long that you've forgotten. It's just a story. And stories can be rewritten. Think about the areas of your life where you struggle the most. What beliefs do you hold about these areas? What stories do you tell yourself about why things are the way they are? What facts about yourself do you accept without question? These aren't facts, they're programs, and programs can be reprogrammed. Maybe you tell yourself you're not a naturally confident person. Maybe you believe you're not good with money. Maybe you think you're unlucky in love. Maybe you've convinced yourself that success is for other people, not you. Maybe you believe you're too old, too young, too inexperienced, or too damaged to change. These are all stories, and they're all keeping you trapped in a version of yourself that no longer serves you. The most insidious part of these limiting beliefs is that they're self-fulfilling prophecies. When you believe you're not confident, you act in ways that reinforce that belief. You avoid situations that would challenge you to be confident. You interpret neutral events as evidence of your lack of confidence. You unconsciously sabotage opportunities that would force you to step into confidence. Your belief creates the very reality it describes. But this also means that when you change the belief, you change the reality. When you start believing you're naturally confident, you start acting in ways that reinforce that new belief. You seek out situations that allow you to practice confidence. You interpret events in ways that support your confident identity. You unconsciously create opportunities that require you to be confident. The same mechanism that kept you trapped now works to set you free. Breaking these chains requires more than just positive thinking or affirmations. It requires a systematic dismantling of your old identity and a deliberate construction of your new one. This is deep psychological work, and it's not always comfortable. You're essentially performing surgery on your own mind, removing the parts that no longer serve you and implanting new patterns that align with who you're becoming. The resistance you feel when you try to change isn't weakness, it's your past self fighting for survival. Your old identity knows that if you truly transform, it will cease to exist. So, it will throw everything it has at you to maintain the status quo. It will create fear, doubt, and anxiety. It will give you a million reasons why change is impossible or dangerous. It will make you feel like you're being fake or inauthentic when you try to be different. This resistance is actually a good sign. It means you're touching something real, something that matters. The stronger the resistance, the more important the change you're trying to make. Your job isn't to eliminate the resistance, it's to move forward in spite of it. Every time you choose to act from your new identity instead of your old one, you weaken the old programming and strengthen the new. Every time you choose courage over fear, confidence over doubt, abundance over scarcity, you're literally rewiring your brain. You're creating new neural pathways and allowing old ones to atrophy. This process requires patience with yourself, but impatience with your excuses. You have to be compassionate enough to understand why you've been the way you've been, but decisive enough to refuse to stay that way. You have to honor your past without being imprisoned by it. The beautiful thing about breaking these chains is that once they're broken, they can never hold you the same way again. Once you realize that your limitations were largely self-imposed, once you experience the freedom of operating from a new identity, once you see what's possible, when you stop playing small, there's no going back. The person who was trapped by those old beliefs simply stops existing. This is what we're doing over the next 21 days. We're not just changing your habits or improving your mindset. We're liberating you from the prison of your past self and setting you free to become who you're truly meant to be. We're breaking the chains that have held you back and giving you the keys to a completely new life. Chapter 4. The Neuroscience of Transformation. What I'm about to share with you will fundamentally change how you think about change itself. For decades, scientists believed that the brain was fixed after childhood, that neural pathways were permanent, and that personality and capabilities were largely set in stone by the time you reached adulthood. This belief wasn't just held by scientists, it permeated our entire culture. It's why people say things like, "You can't teach an old dog new tricks," or "People don't change." But this belief was completely wrong. In the last 2 decades, neuroscience has discovered something so revolutionary, so powerful, that it literally rewrites the rules of human potential. It's called neuroplasticity. And it means that your brain is constantly changing, constantly rewiring itself, constantly creating new neural pathways based on your thoughts, experiences, and behaviors. This isn't just a minor adjustment to our understanding of the brain. This is a complete paradigm shift that changes everything we thought we knew about change, about learning, about what's possible for human beings. Your brain isn't fixed. Your personality isn't permanent. Your capabilities aren't set in stone. Every single day, with every thought you think and every action you take, you are literally sculpting your brain. Here's how it works. Every time you think a thought, your brain creates a neural pathway. The first time you think it, the pathway is weak, like a faint trail through the forest. But every time you think that same thought again, you strengthen that pathway. You make it wider, deeper, more permanent. Eventually, if you think the same thoughts often enough, these pathways become superhighways in your brain, automatic patterns that fire without conscious effort. This is why your current patterns feel so automatic. If you've been thinking thoughts of self-doubt for years, you've created superhighways of self-doubt in your brain. If you've been operating from fear and scarcity, you've built neural networks that automatically generate fear and scarcity. If you've been living from a place of limitation and struggle, your brain has literally organized itself around limitation and struggle. But here's the revolutionary part. You can create new pathways just as easily as you created the old ones. Every time you choose a new thought, every time you act from a new identity, every time you practice a new way of being, you're laying down new neural pathways. And when you do this consistently over time, these new pathways become stronger than the old ones. Scientists used to think this process could only happen during childhood, when the brain was still developing. Now we know it happens throughout your entire life. Your brain at 50 is just as capable of creating new neural pathways as your brain at 5. Your capacity for transformation doesn't diminish with age. It only requires conscious direction. This is why 21 days is so powerful from a neurological standpoint. Research shows that it takes approximately 21 days of consistent practice to begin forming new neural pathways, and about 66 days for them to become automatic. So, in 21 days, you're not just changing your behavior, you're literally changing the structure of your brain. You're rewiring yourself at the most fundamental level possible. But there's a specific way to accelerate this process, and it involves understanding how your brain actually creates change. Your brain changes through 3 primary mechanisms: repetition, emotion, and novelty. When you combine all 3, you create what neuroscientists call enhanced neuroplasticity, which means your brain changes faster and more permanently. Repetition is obvious. The more you practice a new thought pattern or behavior, the stronger the neural pathway becomes. But it's not just about mechanical repetition. It's about conscious, deliberate repetition with full attention and awareness. Every time you consciously choose to think or act from your new identity, you're sending a signal to your brain that this is important. This is the new direction we're going. Emotion is the accelerator. When you attach strong emotion to a new thought or behavior, your brain releases neurochemicals that strengthen the neural pathways associated with that experience. This is why traumatic events can create instant, permanent changes in behavior, even from a single experience. The emotion was so strong that it created an immediate, powerful neural pathway. You can use this same mechanism for positive change. When you practice your new identity with genuine emotion, with excitement and enthusiasm and belief, you're essentially giving your brain a neurochemical boost that makes the change happen faster and stick better. This is why visualization is so powerful when it's done with real feeling, not just mental imagery. Novelty keeps your brain engaged and plastic. When you do the same things in the same way over and over, your brain goes into autopilot. But when you introduce new challenges, new environments, new experiences, your brain stays alert and adaptable. This is why stepping outside your comfort zone isn't just psychologically beneficial, it's neurologically beneficial. It keeps your brain in a state where change is possible. The most powerful insight from neuroscience is that your brain doesn't distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what you actually experience. When you mentally rehearse being confident, your brain fires the same neural pathways as when you actually act confident. When you visualize success with full sensory detail and emotion, your brain treats it as a real experience and strengthens the neural pathways associated with success. This means you can literally practice your new identity in your mind, and your brain will treat it as real practice. You can rehearse being confident, successful, peaceful, or powerful, and your brain will start wiring itself for confidence, success, peace, and power. Mental rehearsal isn't just preparation for change, it is change. But here's what most people get wrong. They try to think their way into a new way of being, instead of acting their way into a new way of thinking. Your brain changes more rapidly through new actions than through new thoughts. When you physically do something different, when you take actions that are aligned with your new identity, you create stronger and more permanent neural changes than when you just think about being different. This is why the 21-day transformation process focuses so heavily on embodiment and action. We're not just changing your mindset, we're changing your neural pathways through deliberate, consistent, emotionally charged actions that reinforce your new identity. We're using the full power of neuroplasticity to literally rewire your brain for success. The implications of this are staggering. It means that no matter how long you've been stuck in old patterns, no matter how deeply ingrained your current identity feels, no matter how permanent your limitations seem, you have the power to change at the most fundamental neurological level. You're not trying to overcome your brain. You're working with your brain's natural capacity for change. Over the next 21 days, every single thing we do is designed to maximize neuroplasticity and accelerate the rewiring process. We're not just hoping for change, we're engineering it at the cellular level. We're not just thinking different thoughts, we're building different brains. And when you have a different brain, you have a different life. Chapter 5. Building your transformation blueprint. Now that you understand the psychology and neuroscience of transformation, it's time to create your personal blueprint for the next 21 days. This isn't a generic plan that works for everyone. This is a customized roadmap that's specifically designed for who you are now and who you want to become. The more precise and personalized this blueprint is, the more powerful your transformation will be. Most people fail at transformation because they approach it haphazardly. They have a vague idea of wanting to improve their life or be more successful. But they don't have a clear, specific, measurable plan for how to get there. They're essentially trying to drive to a destination without a map, and then wondering why they keep getting lost. Your transformation blueprint is your map. It's going to tell you exactly where you're going, exactly how you're going to get there, and exactly how you'll know when you've arrived. It's going to eliminate confusion, reduce resistance, and maximize your chances of success by giving your brain clear, specific instructions for change. The first component of your blueprint is your transformation vision. This is a detailed, vivid, emotionally compelling description of who you're becoming and what your life will look like when the transformation is complete. This isn't just a goal or an outcome. It's a complete identity shift that encompasses every area of your life. Your transformation vision needs to be written in present tense, as if it's already happening. Instead of saying, "I want to be confident," you write, "I am naturally confident and charismatic in every situation." Instead of saying, "I hope to be successful," you write, "I am a highly successful person who creates value and abundance wherever I go." You're not describing a future possibility. You're describing a current reality that you're stepping into. This vision needs to be comprehensive. How do you think when you're operating from this new identity? How do you feel? How do you carry yourself? How do you speak? How do you dress? How do you spend your time? What kinds of decisions do you make? What's your morning routine? How do you handle challenges? What's your relationship with money? How do you interact with other people? What's your energy like? The more detailed and specific this vision is, the more your subconscious mind can grab onto it and start making it real. You want to create such a clear picture of your new identity that your brain can't help but start moving you in that direction. You want to make it so compelling that staying in your old identity feels uncomfortable and unnatural. But a vision without a strategy is just a fantasy. The second component of your blueprint is your transformation strategy. This is the specific, systematic approach you're going to use to bridge the gap between who you are now and who you're becoming. It's broken down into 4 key areas: mindset shifts, behavior changes, environment design, and identity reinforcement. Mindset shifts are the new thought patterns, beliefs, and perspectives you're going to adopt. These aren't just positive affirmations. They're fundamental changes in how you interpret reality. If your old mindset saw challenges as threats, your new mindset sees them as opportunities. If your old mindset focused on what could go wrong, your new mindset focuses on what could go right. If your old mindset operated from scarcity, your new mindset operates from abundance. Behavior changes are the specific actions you're going to take every day that align with your new identity. These aren't random habits. They're strategic behaviors that reinforce who you're becoming. If you're becoming someone who's confident, you might commit to speaking up in every meeting. If you're becoming someone who's successful, you might commit to taking one high-value action every day. If you're becoming someone who's healthy, you might commit to moving your body for at least 30 minutes every day. Environment design is about creating physical and social environments that support your transformation. Your environment is constantly programming your subconscious mind, so you want to make sure it's programming you for success, not failure. This might mean changing your workspace, upgrading your wardrobe, cleaning and organizing your living space, or surrounding yourself with people who embody the qualities you're developing. Identity reinforcement is the ongoing process of reminding yourself who you're becoming and celebrating evidence of your transformation. This includes daily visualization, affirmations, journaling, and conscious recognition of moments when you're operating from your new identity. The more you reinforce your new identity, the faster it becomes automatic and natural. The third component of your blueprint is your transformation metrics. These are the specific, measurable ways you're going to track your progress over the 21 days. Transformation isn't always obvious in the moment, especially internal transformation. Having clear metrics helps you recognize progress when it's happening and course correct when necessary. Your metrics should include both internal measures and external measures. Internal measures might include your confidence level on a scale of 1 to 10, how often you catch yourself thinking from your new identity, or how natural your new behaviors feel. External measures might include specific actions you've taken, opportunities you've created, or results you've achieved. The key is to measure progress, not perfection. You're not trying to become perfect overnight. You're trying to become better every day. Small, consistent improvements compound over time into massive transformation. Celebrating small wins builds momentum and keeps you motivated when the process gets challenging. The fourth component of your blueprint is your transformation support system. This includes the resources, tools, and people that will help you stay committed and accountable throughout the 21 days. This might include books, podcasts, or courses that reinforce your new identity. It might include apps or tools that help you track your progress. It might include friends, family members, or mentors who support your transformation and hold you accountable. The most important part of your support system is accountability. Research shows that people are 65% more likely to achieve their goals when they commit to another person, and 95% more likely when they have ongoing accountability meetings. This is why it's crucial to share your transformation goals with someone you trust and set up regular check-ins to discuss your progress. Finally, your blueprint needs to include your transformation contingency plan. This is your strategy for handling inevitable challenges, setbacks, and resistance. Transformation is never a straight line from point A to point B. There will be days when you don't feel like staying committed. There will be moments when your old identity fights back. There will be situations that test your resolve. Having a contingency plan means you've already decided how you're going to handle these challenges before they arise. You've identified the most likely obstacles and created specific strategies for overcoming them. You've prepared yourself mentally and emotionally for the resistance you'll face, so when it shows up, you're ready for it. Your transformation blueprint is your guide, your accountability partner, and your roadmap, all rolled into one. It takes the guesswork out of transformation and gives you a clear, systematic approach for becoming who you're meant to be. Over the next 21 days, this blueprint will be your North Star, keeping you focused, motivated, and moving in the right direction, no matter what challenges arise. The more detailed and personalized your blueprint is, the more successful your transformation will be. This isn't something you can rush through or do halfway. Take the time to really think through each component, to get clear on exactly what you want and exactly how you're going to get it. Your future self is depending on the decisions you make right now. Chapter 6. The Daily Transformation Protocol. Now we get into the practical mechanics of daily transformation. This isn't about adding more tasks to your already busy schedule. This is about completely restructuring how you move through each day, so that every moment becomes an opportunity to reinforce your new identity. Most people live their days on autopilot, unconsciously reinforcing the same patterns that keep them stuck. We're going to flip that script entirely. Your day needs to be designed around identity reinforcement, not just productivity. Every morning, you're going to wake up and consciously step into your new identity. Every evening, you're going to review how well you embodied that identity throughout the day. Every moment in between becomes a chance to practice being the person you're becoming. The morning activation sequence is crucial because it sets the neurological tone for your entire day. Within the first hour of waking, your brain is in a highly programmable state. Your brain waves are transitioning from the theta state of sleep to the alpha state of relaxed awareness. This is when your subconscious mind is most receptive to new programming. Start with identity visualization. Before you even get out of bed, spend 5 minutes mentally rehearsing your new identity. See yourself moving through the day with confidence, making decisions from abundance, responding to challenges with resilience. Feel the emotions of being this person. Experience the energy of operating from this new identity. Your brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So this mental rehearsal is literally programming your neural pathways for success. Next is the identity declaration. Stand in front of a mirror and declare who you are becoming. Not who you want to become, who you are becoming. Speak with conviction, with certainty, with the energy of someone who knows exactly who they are. Your voice has power, especially when you're speaking to yourself. Every declaration rewires your brain at a deeper level. Then comes embodied movement. Your body holds patterns just as much as your mind does. How you move, how you carry yourself, how you breathe, all communicate to your subconscious mind who you are. Spend 10 minutes moving your body in a way that embodies your new identity. If you're becoming confident, move with confidence. If you're becoming powerful, move with power. If you're becoming peaceful, move with grace and centeredness. The evening integration process is equally important. This is when you review the day and consciously reinforce the identity shifts you made. Your brain consolidates memories and learning during sleep. So what you focus on before bed has a disproportionate impact on your transformation. Review your identity wins. What moments during the day did you successfully operate from your new identity? What decisions did you make that aligned with who you're becoming? What challenges did you handle in a new way? Celebrate these moments, no matter how small they seem. Recognition reinforces neural pathways and makes those patterns more likely to repeat. Identify growth opportunities. What situations triggered your old identity? What moments did you fall back into old patterns? This isn't about judgment or self-criticism. It's about awareness and learning. Every time you catch yourself operating from your old identity, you create an opportunity to choose differently next time. Set tomorrow's identity intention. Based on today's experiences, how will you show up tomorrow? What specific situations will you approach from your new identity? What old patterns will you consciously interrupt? Having a clear intention for tomorrow programs your subconscious to look for opportunities to embody your new identity. Throughout the day, you need identity check-ins. These are brief moments where you pause and ask yourself, who am I being right now? Am I operating from my new identity or my old one? These check-ins create conscious awareness of your identity state and give you the opportunity to course-correct in real time. The most powerful transformation happens in micro moments. When someone cuts you off in traffic, do you respond from your old identity or your new one? When you face a challenging situation at work, do you react from fear or from confidence? When you're making decisions about how to spend your time or money, are you choosing from scarcity or abundance? These micro moments, accumulated over 21 days, create massive transformation. Your daily protocol also needs to include identity anchoring. These are specific physical actions that connect you to your new identity throughout the day. Maybe it's the way you sit during meetings, the way you shake hands, the way you answer the phone, or the way you walk into a room. These physical anchors serve as constant reminders of who you're becoming and help maintain your new identity state even when you're busy or distracted. The key to making this protocol sustainable is integration, not addition. You're not adding 20 new habits to your day. You're transforming how you do the things you already do. You're bringing consciousness and intention to activities that were previously unconscious and automatic. You're using your existing routine as a framework for identity transformation. Chapter 7. Overcoming resistance and self-sabotage. Here's what no one tells you about transformation. Your old identity will fight back. It will fight back hard, and it will fight back smart. The resistance you experience isn't a character flaw or a sign of weakness. It's a biological imperative. Your brain is literally wired to resist change, even positive change, because change represents uncertainty, and uncertainty represents potential danger. Understanding this resistance is crucial because most people interpret it as evidence that they're not meant to change or that transformation isn't possible for them. They feel the discomfort of stepping outside their comfort zone and assume it means they're doing something wrong. But the opposite is true. Resistance is actually evidence that you're doing something right. It means you're pushing against real limitations and creating real change. Your subconscious mind has one primary job: to keep you safe and consistent with your current identity. It's been doing this job for years, maybe decades. It's created elaborate systems and patterns to maintain the status quo. When you suddenly start operating from a new identity, your subconscious mind interprets this as a threat to your survival. It doesn't care if the new identity is better. It only cares that it's different. This resistance manifests in predictable ways. You'll experience fear that seems completely irrational. You'll suddenly have thoughts of self-doubt that feel more intense than usual. You'll find yourself procrastinating on actions that you know will move you forward. You'll have urges to go back to old behaviors that feel comfortable and familiar. You might even experience physical symptoms like fatigue, restlessness, or anxiety. Most people, when they experience this resistance, give up. They assume that the discomfort means they're not ready for change, or that transformation is too difficult. But here's what changes everything. Resistance is temporary. It's most intense at the beginning of the transformation process and gradually decreases as your new identity becomes more familiar to your subconscious mind. Think of it like moving to a new country. At first, everything feels foreign and uncomfortable. The language is different. The customs are different. Even the food tastes strange. Your mind constantly compares everything to your home country and finds the new place lacking. But gradually, as you spend more time there, the new environment starts to feel normal. Eventually, it starts to feel like home. The same process happens with identity transformation. The key to overcoming resistance is to expect it, understand it, and work with it rather than against it. When you feel fear about stepping into your new identity. Recognize it as your old identity trying to protect you. Thank it for its concern, but move forward anyway. When you have thoughts of self-doubt, understand that these are just old neural pathways firing automatically. Acknowledge the thoughts without engaging with them, and then consciously choose thoughts that align with your new identity. One of the most effective ways to handle resistance is through graduated exposure. Instead of trying to make massive changes all at once, you gradually increase the intensity of your new identity expression. If your new identity is confident and you're naturally shy, you don't start by giving a speech to 1,000 people. You start by making eye contact with one person, then speaking up once in a meeting, then initiating a conversation with a stranger. Each small step builds evidence that your new identity is safe and possible. Self-sabotage is resistance's most cunning weapon. This is when you unconsciously create situations that force you back into your old identity. You might accidentally oversleep on a day when you plan to implement your new morning routine. You might forget to follow through on a commitment that would reinforce your new identity. You might create drama or crisis that requires you to focus on problem solving instead of transformation. The insidious thing about self-sabotage is that it feels like it's happening to you rather than being created by you. You genuinely believe that external circumstances are preventing your transformation, never realizing that you're unconsciously orchestrating these circumstances to maintain your comfort zone. Recognizing self-sabotage requires brutal honesty with yourself. When you find yourself consistently falling back into old patterns, when you repeatedly encounter the same obstacles, when you keep having bad luck that interrupts your progress, ask yourself, how might I be unconsciously creating this situation? What would I gain by staying in my old identity? What am I afraid might happen if I actually transform? The answer to overcoming self-sabotage is increasing your conscious awareness. The more conscious you become of your patterns, the less power they have over you. Start noticing the subtle ways you talk yourself out of growth opportunities. Pay attention to the stories you tell yourself about why change isn't possible right now. Observe the choices you make when no one is watching. The goal isn't to judge yourself. It's to see yourself clearly. Another powerful strategy is accountability partnering. Share your transformation journey with someone you trust and ask them to call you out when they see you self-sabotaging. Sometimes external perspective can see patterns that we're blind to ourselves. Having someone who's committed to your growth can provide the external accountability that overrides internal resistance. Remember that resistance and self-sabotage are actually signs that your transformation is working. They're evidence that you're pushing against real limitations and creating real change. The key is to see them as temporary obstacles to overcome rather than permanent barriers that can't be crossed. Every time you move forward, in spite of resistance, you weaken its power over you. Every time you recognize self-sabotage and choose differently, you strengthen your conscious control over your unconscious patterns. Chapter 8. The compound effect of daily identity shifts. Most people underestimate the power of small, consistent changes because they can't see the compound effect in action. They want dramatic transformation overnight. And when they don't see massive results immediately, they assume their efforts aren't working. But transformation doesn't work like a light switch. It works like compound interest. Small, Consistent identity shifts, accumulated over time, create exponential change. Think about how compound interest works with money. If you invest $100 and it grows at 10% per year, after 1 year, you have $110. The growth seems minimal. After 5 years, you have $161. Still not impressive. But after 20 years, you have $673. After 30 years, you have $1,745. The same principle applies to identity transformation. Small daily shifts compound into massive life changes. Every time you choose to act from your new identity instead of your old one, you're making a deposit in your transformation account. Every time you catch yourself thinking from limitation and consciously shift to abundance, you're earning interest on your previous deposits. Every time you handle a challenge from your new identity instead of your old one, you're accelerating the compound effect. The beautiful thing about this compound effect is that it's not just additive, it's multiplicative. As your new identity becomes stronger, it makes future identity shifts easier. As you build evidence that you're capable of change, your confidence in your ability to change increases. As you experience success from operating from your new identity, you become more motivated to continue the process. This is why days 1 to 7 of your transformation will feel the most difficult. You're fighting against years or decades of old programming with relatively little evidence that change is possible. But days 15 to 21 will feel dramatically different. By then, you'll have accumulated enough evidence of your new identity that it starts to feel natural and automatic. The compound effect will be working in your favor instead of against you. But here's what most people miss. The compound effect works in both directions. Just as small positive changes compound into massive positive results, small negative choices compound into stagnation and regression. Every time you choose your old identity over your new one, you're making a withdrawal from your transformation account. Every time you indulge in old thought patterns, you're strengthening neural pathways that work against your goals. This is why consistency is more important than intensity. It's better to make small identity shifts every day than to make massive changes sporadically. Your brain responds to patterns and repetition. When you're consistent with your new identity, even in small ways, your subconscious mind starts to accept it as your new normal. When you're inconsistent, your subconscious mind treats your new identity as a temporary experiment that will eventually end. The compound effect also applies to your environment and relationships. As you consistently show up as your new identity, the people around you start responding to you differently. They begin to see you as the person you're becoming rather than the person you used to be. This external reflection reinforces your internal transformation and accelerates the compound effect. Opportunities also compound. As you operate from your new identity, you start attracting different opportunities than you did before. You notice possibilities that were always there but invisible to your old identity. You take actions that create new opportunities. You build relationships with people who support your new identity. Each opportunity builds on the previous ones, creating a snowball effect of positive change. Skills and capabilities compound as well. As you practice being your new identity, you develop new skills and abilities that support that identity. If you're becoming a confident leader, you develop communication skills, decision-making skills, and emotional intelligence. These skills make it easier to embody your new identity, which gives you more opportunities to practice and improve those skills. The loop feeds itself. Energy also compounds. Operating from your new identity, especially when it's aligned with your authentic self, generates energy rather than depleting it. You'll find that you have more enthusiasm, more motivation, and more resilience than you did when you were trying to maintain an identity that didn't serve you. This increased energy allows you to take more action, which accelerates your transformation even further. The key to maximizing the compound effect is to focus on identity-based metrics rather than outcome-based metrics. Instead of measuring how much money you've made or how many people you've impressed, measure how consistently you're operating from your new identity. Instead of tracking external results, track internal shifts. The external results will follow naturally as the compound effect takes hold. Patience is crucial during this process. The compound effect is invisible in the early stages and obvious in the later stages. You have to trust the process even when you can't see the results yet. You have to keep making deposits in your transformation account even when the balance seems to be growing slowly. The breakthrough moment, when the compound effect becomes undeniable, always seems to come suddenly, even though it's been building gradually all along. Chapter 9. Designing your environment for transformation. Your environment is not neutral. Every single element of your physical and social environment is either supporting your transformation or undermining it. Most people try to change themselves while keeping everything around them exactly the same, and then wonder why change feels so difficult. But when you understand the power of environmental design, transformation becomes inevitable rather than effortful. Your brain is constantly taking cues from your environment about who you are and how you should behave. If your environment reflects your old identity, your brain will automatically default to old patterns. If your environment reflects your new identity, your brain will naturally shift toward new patterns. This is why changing your environment is one of the fastest ways to accelerate personal transformation. Think about how you feel when you walk into a luxury hotel versus how you feel when you walk into a rundown motel. The environment immediately shifts your internal state, your posture, your energy, and your expectations. You automatically adjust your behavior to match the environment you're in. The same principle applies to every environment you spend time in. From your bedroom to your workspace to your car, environmental design starts with your physical space. Look around your living space right now. What does it communicate about the person who lives there? What identity does it reinforce? If someone walked into this space knowing nothing about you, what would they assume about your values, your aspirations, your level of success, your attention to detail, your self-respect? Your physical environment should reflect the identity you're becoming, not the identity you're leaving behind. If you're becoming someone who's successful and abundant, your space should reflect success and abundance. This doesn't mean you need to spend money you don't have on expensive items. It means you need to create a space that feels aligned with success. Clean, organized, intentional, beautiful within your current means. If you're becoming someone who's healthy and energetic, your environment should support health and energy. Remove junk food from your kitchen and replace it with healthy options. Create a space for exercise, even if it's just a yoga mat in your bedroom. Display items that remind you of your health goals, and make healthy choices easier than unhealthy ones. The key is to make your environment do the work for you. Instead of relying on willpower to make good choices, design your environment so that good choices are automatic and bad choices require effort. If you want to read more, put books in visible places and put your phone in another room. If you want to exercise more, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to eat healthier, prep healthy meals and make them the most convenient option. Your social environment is even more powerful than your physical environment. The 5 people you spend the most time with have a massive influence on your identity, your behavior, and your results. If you're surrounded by people who embody your old identity, it will be extremely difficult to sustain your new identity. If you're surrounded by people who embody your new identity, transformation becomes natural and inevitable. This doesn't mean you need to abandon all your current relationships, but it does mean you need to be strategic about who you spend time with during your transformation. Seek out people who embody the qualities you're developing. Join groups, communities, or organizations where your new identity is the norm rather than the exception. Surround yourself with people who see you as capable of transformation rather than people who are invested in keeping you the same. Pay attention to the conversations you engage in regularly. Are they about problems or possibilities? Are they focused on limitations or opportunities? Are they driven by fear or excitement? The conversations you participate in shape your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your identity. Choose conversations that reinforce your new identity and limit conversations that reinforce your old one. Your digital environment also requires conscious design. The content you consume through social media, news, podcasts, videos, and articles is constantly programming your subconscious mind. If you're consuming content that reinforces limitation, scarcity, and victimhood, that's what your subconscious will internalize. If you're consuming content that reinforces possibility, abundance, and empowerment, that's what becomes your new normal. Audit your digital consumption honestly. What are the dominant messages you're receiving through your phone and computer? What emotions are these messages generating? What beliefs are they reinforcing? What identity are they supporting? Then consciously curate your digital environment to support your transformation. Follow accounts that inspire your new identity. Listen to podcasts that reinforce your new mindset. Watch videos that teach skills relevant to who you're becoming. Even small environmental details matter more than you might think. The clothes you wear, the music you listen to, the scents in your space, the lighting in your rooms, all communicate messages to your subconscious about who you are. When you dress like the person you're becoming, you feel like that person. When you listen to music that energizes your new identity, you embody that energy. When your space smells and feels like success, you operate from success. Creating environmental triggers for your new identity is particularly powerful. These are specific objects, images, or arrangements that immediately remind you of who you're becoming. Maybe it's a vision board that represents your new life. Maybe it's a piece of jewelry that you only wear when you're operating from your new identity. Maybe it's a specific playlist that puts you in the state of your new identity. These triggers serve as instant identity activators throughout your day. The most successful people in the world understand that willpower is finite but environment is infinite. They don't rely on motivation or discipline to maintain their identity. They design environments that make their desired identity the path of least resistance. When your environment is aligned with your transformation, being your new self becomes easier than being your old self. Chapter 10. Tracking Progress and Maintaining Momentum. Transformation is often invisible in the moment, but obvious in retrospect. The changes happening inside your mind and in your neural pathways can't be seen or felt directly, which is why so many people give up before the transformation becomes apparent. Having a systematic way to track your progress is crucial for maintaining motivation and momentum throughout the 21-day process. Most people make the mistake of only tracking external results, things like income, weight, or achievements. But during identity transformation, the most important changes are internal and often precede external changes by weeks or months. If you only measure external results, you might conclude that nothing is changing when massive internal shifts are actually taking place. Internal progress markers are the real indicators of transformation. These include how naturally your new identity feels, how often you catch yourself thinking from your new perspective, how quickly you recover from old patterns, how comfortable you are with behaviors that used to feel awkward, and how aligned your decisions are becoming with your new values. Create a daily transformation scorecard that tracks both internal and external indicators. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 inches categories like identity alignment, decision quality, emotional state, energy level, confidence, and specific behaviors relevant to your transformation. This isn't about perfectionism. It's about awareness and pattern recognition. Notice that progress is not linear. You might have a day where you score 8 seconds and 9 seconds across all categories, followed by a day where you score 4 seconds and 5 seconds. This doesn't mean you're going backward. It means you're human. Transformation involves integration periods where your brain processes and consolidates changes. These periods can feel like regression but are actually essential parts of the growth process. Weekly reflection sessions are crucial for maintaining perspective and momentum. Every 7 days, review your scorecards and look for patterns. What's improving consistently? What areas need more attention? What triggers tend to pull you back into old patterns? What strategies are working best for you? This weekly review allows you to optimize your approach and celebrate progress that might not be obvious day to day. Momentum is the most valuable asset in transformation. Once you have momentum working for you, change becomes exponentially easier. But momentum is also fragile, especially in the early stages. Understanding how to build and maintain momentum is crucial for successful transformation. Momentum is built through consistency, not intensity. Taking small actions aligned with your new identity every single day creates more momentum than taking massive actions sporadically. Your brain responds to patterns and reliability. When you consistently show up as your new identity, even in small ways, your subconscious mind starts to accept this as your new normal. Early wins are crucial for building momentum. Design your transformation plan so that you experience success quickly and frequently. If your new identity is confident, create opportunities to practice confidence in low-stakes situations where success is likely. If your new identity is disciplined, start with disciplines that feel manageable and gradually increase the difficulty. Each success builds evidence that transformation is possible and motivates you to continue. Momentum killers are patterns or decisions that break your consistency and make you question your progress. Common momentum killers include perfectionism, comparison to others, focusing only on external results, and allowing single setbacks to derail your entire process. Identify your personal momentum killers and create specific strategies for handling them when they arise. Accountability accelerates momentum exponentially. When you share your transformation journey with others and commit to regular check-ins, you create external pressure that supports your internal motivation. Choose accountability partners who understand transformation and will call you out lovingly when you're making excuses or falling back into old patterns. Celebrating progress is essential for maintaining momentum. Your brain learns through positive reinforcement, and celebration is one of the most powerful forms of positive reinforcement. Acknowledge every sign of progress, no matter how small. Every time you operate from your new identity. Every time you make a decision aligned with your transformation. Every time you handle a challenge differently than you would have before. Celebrate it. Create transformation milestones that mark significant progress points throughout the 21 days. Maybe day 7 is when you first feel your new identity becoming natural. Maybe day 14 is when other people start commenting on changes they see in you. Maybe day 21 is when you realize you can't imagine going back to your old way of being. Having milestones to look forward to helps maintain motivation during challenging periods. The compound effect of tracking becomes obvious over time. When you consistently measure and acknowledge your progress, you create a positive feedback loop that accelerates transformation. You become more aware of your patterns, more intentional with your choices, and more confident in your ability to change. The act of tracking itself becomes a transformation tool. By day 21, you should have accumulated enough evidence of change that your transformation feels undeniable. The person who started this journey 21 days ago should feel like a different person than who you are now. Not because you've achieved perfection, but because you've proven to yourself that intentional change is possible and that you have the power to direct your own transformation. The tracking and momentum systems you develop during these 21 days become lifelong tools for continued growth. Transformation doesn't end after 21 days. It becomes a way of life. Once you understand how to systematically change yourself, you can apply these same principles to any area of your life that needs improvement. You become someone who transforms rather than someone who hopes for change. Chapter 11. Advanced Integration Techniques. By this point in your transformation, you've experienced what it feels like to operate from your new identity. You've had moments where it felt natural, effortless, and authentic. You've also had moments where it felt forced, awkward, and unfamiliar. This is completely normal and actually indicates that real integration is taking place. Now we need to accelerate that integration process and make your new identity so deeply embedded that it becomes your automatic default. Integration is different from practice. Practice is conscious effort to embody your new identity. Integration is when that identity becomes unconscious and automatic. It's the difference between thinking about walking and just walking. When a new identity is fully integrated, you don't have to remember to be that person. You just are that person. The challenge with integration is that it requires going beyond surface-level changes and rewiring your identity at the deepest neurological level. This means addressing not just how you think and act, but how you fundamentally perceive reality itself. Your new identity needs to become so natural that it influences your automatic responses, your split-second decisions, and your unconscious behaviors. Advanced visualization is one of the most powerful integration techniques. This goes far beyond basic mental imagery. You're going to create detailed, multi-sensory experiences of living from your new identity in various scenarios. The key is specificity and emotional intensity. Your brain needs to experience these visualizations as real memories, not fantasies. Create visualization scenarios for challenging situations you're likely to encounter. If your new identity is confident, visualize yourself handling rejection, criticism, or failure with confidence. Feel the sensations in your body. Hear the tone of your voice. See the expressions on other people's faces. Experience the emotions of remaining centered and confident, even under pressure. The more detailed and realistic these visualizations are, the more they program your brain for automatic confident responses. Physical embodiment exercises accelerate integration by connecting your new identity to your nervous system and muscle memory. Your identity isn't just in your mind, it's in your entire body. How you breathe, how you hold your shoulders, how you walk, how you gesture, all communicate identity information to your subconscious mind. Spend time each day physically embodying your new identity. If you're becoming someone powerful, practice powerful posture and movement. If you're becoming someone peaceful, practice peaceful breathing and gestures. If you're becoming someone confident, practice confident eye contact and voice projection. Your body teaches your mind just as much as your mind teaches your body. Identity stress testing is crucial for deep integration. This involves deliberately putting yourself in situations that challenge your new identity and practicing maintaining it under pressure. Just like muscles grow stronger under resistance, identities become more solid when they're tested and proven reliable. Start with low-stakes challenges and gradually increase the difficulty. If your new identity is assertive, practice being assertive in minor situations before trying it in major ones. If your new identity is calm under pressure, practice staying calm during small stresses before facing major crises. Each successful test builds evidence that your new identity is real and sustainable. Micro-identity reinforcement involves finding tiny moments throughout each day to reinforce your new identity. These are split-second choices that seem insignificant but accumulate into massive transformation. How you respond when someone cuts in line. How you handle a minor disappointment. How you react when technology doesn't work properly. These micro moments are where true integration happens. The goal is to catch yourself in these moments and consciously choose to respond from your new identity instead of your old one. At first, you'll catch yourself after the fact. Eventually, you'll catch yourself during the moment. Finally, you'll automatically respond from your new identity without conscious effort. This progression indicates successful integration. Advanced integration also requires what I call identity archaeology. This is the process of identifying and transforming the deepest, most unconscious patterns that maintain your old identity. These are often patterns you developed in childhood or during traumatic experiences that continue to influence your behavior decades later. These deep patterns often show up as automatic thoughts that arise in specific situations. Thoughts like, "I'm not smart enough for this," or "people like me don't get opportunities like this." or "I always mess things up when it matters." These thoughts feel true because they've been repeated so many times, but they're actually just old programming that can be changed. When you notice these automatic thoughts, don't try to fight them or suppress them. Instead, acknowledge them as old programming and consciously choose a thought that aligns with your new identity. Over time, these new thoughts will become just as automatic as the old ones were. Identity integration also requires learning to navigate the transition periods between your old and new identity. There will be moments when you feel like you're in between identities, not fully your old self, but not yet completely your new self. These transition periods can feel uncomfortable and confusing, but they're actually signs that deep change is occurring. During these periods, trust the process and lean into your new identity, even when it doesn't feel completely natural yet. Authenticity isn't about only doing what feels comfortable. It's about aligning with who you're truly meant to be. Sometimes, being authentic requires growing beyond who you've been. The final aspect of advanced integration is developing identity flexibility. This means being able to access different aspects of your new identity depending on what's needed in each situation. A truly integrated identity isn't rigid or one-dimensional. It's dynamic and adaptive while maintaining core consistency. For example, if your new identity is confident, that confidence might express itself differently in a boardroom than it does in a social setting, than it does in an intimate relationship. The core confidence remains the same, but its expression adapts to the context. This flexibility prevents your new identity from feeling like a costume you put on, and instead makes it feel like a natural part of who you are. Chapter 12. Mastering your internal dialogue. Your internal dialogue is the constant stream of thoughts running through your mind every moment of every day. Most people are completely unconscious of this dialogue, never realizing that it's one of the most powerful forces shaping their reality. Your internal dialogue doesn't just reflect who you are, it creates who you are. Change your internal dialogue, and you change everything. The average person has between 60,000 and 80,000 thoughts per day, and research shows that 90% of these thoughts are the same thoughts they had yesterday. This means most people are unconsciously reinforcing the same identity, the same limitations, and the same reality day after day through their internal dialogue. They're essentially hypnotizing themselves into staying exactly the same. But here's what changes everything. You have the power to consciously direct your internal dialogue. You can choose what thoughts to engage with and what thoughts to dismiss. You can choose what stories to tell yourself about who you are and what's possible for you. You can choose to use your internal dialogue as a tool for transformation rather than a prison of repetition. Your internal dialogue operates on multiple levels simultaneously. There's the surface level, which is the thoughts you're consciously aware of. There's the emotional level, which is the feelings and reactions that arise automatically. And there's the identity level, which is the deepest layer, where your core beliefs about yourself and reality reside. Mastering your internal dialogue means gaining conscious control at all three levels. The surface level is the easiest to change because it's the most conscious. This is where you practice replacing negative thoughts with positive ones, limiting thoughts with empowering ones, and fear-based thoughts with possibility-based ones. But this surface-level work is only effective if it's connected to the deeper levels. The emotional level requires understanding that thoughts and emotions are connected, but not the same thing. You can't always control what emotions arise, but you can control how you respond to them and what thoughts you choose to think about them. When you feel fear, you can choose to think thoughts that acknowledge the fear without being controlled by it. When you feel doubt, you can choose to think thoughts that recognize the doubt as old programming rather than current truth. The identity level is where the real transformation happens. This is where you consciously choose to think thoughts that align with your new identity rather than your old one. Instead of thinking, "I'm not good at this," you think, "I'm learning and improving every day." Instead of thinking, "This always happens to me," you think, "I'm creating different results now." Instead of thinking, "I can't handle this," you think, "I have the resources to figure this out." The key to mastering your internal dialogue is developing what I call thought awareness. This is the ability to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. Most people are so identified with their thoughts that they don't realize they have a choice about which thoughts to engage with. They think every thought that arises must be true and important and worthy of attention. But thoughts are just mental events, like clouds passing through the sky. Some are useful and worth engaging with. Others are just noise from old programming. Developing thought awareness means learning to observe your thoughts objectively and consciously choose which ones to amplify and which ones to let pass by. This requires creating space between you and your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You are the consciousness that observes your thoughts. When you realize this distinction, you gain tremendous power over your internal experience. You can have a thought of self-doubt and recognize it as just a thought, not a truth about yourself. You can have a thought of limitation and understand it as old programming, not current reality. Conscious thought direction is the next level of internal dialogue mastery. This is where you actively choose thoughts that support your new identity and align with your transformation goals. Instead of just observing thoughts and letting them pass, you deliberately generate thoughts that reinforce who you're becoming. This isn't about positive thinking or affirmations, although those can be useful tools. This is about strategic thinking that serves your transformation. When you're facing a challenge, instead of automatically thinking thoughts that make the challenge seem impossible, you consciously choose thoughts that help you see solutions and possibilities. When you're making decisions, instead of defaulting to thoughts rooted in old patterns, you consciously choose thoughts aligned with your new identity. Internal dialogue mastery also requires understanding the difference between helpful and unhelpful mental commentary. Helpful commentary serves your growth and transformation. It helps you learn from experiences, solve problems, and make better decisions. Unhelpful commentary is just noise that reinforces old patterns and keeps you stuck. Helpful commentary sounds like, "What can I learn from this? How can I approach this differently? What would someone with my new identity do in this situation?" Unhelpful commentary sounds like, "I always mess this up. This is too hard for me. I knew this wouldn't work." Learning to distinguish between these types of commentary and consciously choose the helpful kind is crucial for transformation. One of the most powerful techniques for transforming your internal dialogue is developing an internal coach rather than an internal critic. Most people have a harsh, judgmental voice in their head that constantly criticizes their efforts and points out their flaws. This internal critic feels like it's trying to help by preventing mistakes, but it actually sabotages transformation by reinforcing limiting beliefs. Your internal coach, on the other hand, supports your growth while maintaining realistic standards. It acknowledges challenges without making them seem impossible. It points out areas for improvement without attacking your worth as a person. It celebrates progress while encouraging continued effort. Developing this internal coach voice is essential for sustainable transformation. The internal coach asks different questions than the internal critic. Instead of, "Why did I do that?" it asks, "How can I do better next time?" Instead of, "I'm terrible at this," it says, "I'm improving at this." Instead of, "This proves I can't change," it says, "This is part of the learning process." These subtle shifts in internal language create massive shifts in your experience of transformation. Mastering your internal dialogue also means learning to use language that assumes your transformation rather than questioning it. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to be more confident," you say, "I am becoming more confident every day." Instead of saying, "I hope this works," you say, "I'm learning what works for me." Instead of saying, "Maybe I can change," you say, "I am changing." This assumptive language programs your subconscious for success rather than uncertainty. The ultimate goal of internal dialogue mastery is reaching a state where your thoughts automatically support your highest potential rather than your lowest fears. When this happens, transformation becomes effortless because your mind is working with you instead of against you. Your internal dialogue becomes a powerful ally in creating the life you want, instead of a constant source of resistance and limitation. Chapter 13. Navigating Relationships During Transformation. One of the most challenging aspects of personal transformation is how it affects your relationships with other people. As you change, you're going to discover that not everyone in your life is going to support or understand your transformation. Some people will be threatened by your growth. Others will try to pull you back into old patterns. Some will question your authenticity or accuse you of changing too much. Understanding how to navigate these relational challenges is crucial for maintaining your transformation while preserving important relationships. The first thing to understand is that when you transform, you're not just changing yourself, you're changing the entire dynamic of every relationship you're in. Relationships are systems, and systems resist change. If you've been the insecure friend, the struggling sibling, or the people-pleasing employee, other people have organized their identity and behavior around those roles. When you suddenly start operating from confidence, success, or assertiveness, it disrupts the entire system. This disruption isn't malicious, it's unconscious. The people in your life have developed ways of relating to you based on who you've been. They've learned how to communicate with you, how to support you, how to get their needs met through the relationship. When you change, they have to learn new ways of relating, and change is uncomfortable for everyone, not just you. Some people will adapt to your transformation and even be inspired by it. These are the relationships that will grow stronger and deeper through your change. But others will resist your transformation and try to pull you back into familiar patterns. They might criticize your new behaviors, question your motivations, or create situations that trigger your old identity. This isn't necessarily because they don't want you to be happy. It's because your transformation makes them uncomfortable about their own lack of growth. Understanding this dynamic allows you to respond with compassion rather than defensiveness. When people resist your changes, they're not attacking you personally. They're trying to restore the familiar system that gave them comfort and predictability. Your job isn't to convince them that your transformation is good. It's to maintain your new identity regardless of their reaction. Setting boundaries becomes crucial during transformation. You may need to limit time with people who consistently trigger your old identity, or try to sabotage your growth. This doesn't mean cutting people out of your life permanently, but it does mean protecting your transformation during its most vulnerable stages. Once your new identity is fully integrated, you'll be better able to maintain it even around challenging people. Some relationships will naturally fade during your transformation, and this is often a healthy part of the process. Relationships that were based on shared limitations, complaints, or dysfunction may no longer feel fulfilling when you're operating from a higher level. It's normal to outgrow certain friendships or find that you have less in common with people who aren't growing at the same pace. This can feel sad or guilty, especially if these relationships were important to you in the past. But remember that people come into our lives for different reasons and different seasons. Some relationships are meant to support you through difficult times. Others are meant to celebrate your successes, and others are meant to challenge you to grow. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. And ending relationships that no longer serve you isn't selfish. It's necessary for continued growth. On the flip side, transformation often attracts new relationships that align with your new identity. As you embody confidence, success, or whatever qualities you're developing, you'll naturally attract people who resonate with those qualities. You'll find yourself in conversations that inspire you rather than drain you. You'll build connections based on shared growth rather than shared problems. These new relationships can be incredibly supportive for maintaining your transformation. Surrounding yourself with people who see you as the person you're becoming rather than the person you used to be reinforces your new identity and makes it easier to sustain. This is why seeking out new communities, joining new groups, or finding new mentors is often an important part of the transformation process. Communicating about your transformation requires delicacy and wisdom. Not everyone needs to know that you're deliberately transforming yourself. In fact, talking too much about your changes can sometimes create resistance or make people feel like you're judging their lack of change. Sometimes it's better to simply embody your new identity and let people adjust to the new you naturally. When you do need to address your changes directly, focus on your own experience rather than making comparisons or judgments. Instead of saying, "I'm not going to be a pushover anymore," you might say, "I'm learning to communicate my needs more clearly." Instead of saying, "I'm done with negative people," you might say, "I'm focusing on more positive interactions." This approach is less likely to trigger defensiveness in others. It's also important to give people time to adjust to your changes. Just as your transformation didn't happen overnight, other people's adjustment to your transformation won't happen immediately either. Be patient with people who are struggling to understand or accept your changes, while still maintaining your boundaries and staying true to your new identity. Family relationships can be particularly challenging during transformation. Because family systems are often the most resistant to change. Family members may have the strongest investment in keeping you in familiar roles. They may use guilt, manipulation, or emotional triggers to pull you back into old patterns. Navigating family transformation requires extra care and often professional support. Romantic relationships during transformation can either be incredibly strengthening or incredibly challenging. If your partner supports your growth and is willing to grow alongside you, your relationship can reach new levels of intimacy and fulfillment. But if your partner feels threatened by your changes or tries to sabotage your growth, it can create serious relationship problems that may require counseling or difficult decisions. The key principle for navigating all relationships during transformation is staying true to your authentic self while remaining compassionate toward others' reactions. You can't control how people respond to your changes, but you can control how you respond to their responses. Maintain your integrity, set appropriate boundaries, communicate with kindness when possible, and trust that the relationships meant to support your highest self will strengthen while those that don't will naturally fade. Remember that your transformation gives other people permission to transform as well. By courageously becoming who you're meant to be, you're modeling what's possible for everyone around you. Even people who initially resist your changes may eventually be inspired by your example to examine their own lives and consider their own growth. Your transformation is not just a gift to yourself, it's a gift to everyone whose life you touch. Chapter 14. Long-term sustainability and continued growth. The 21-day transformation period is just the beginning, not the end. What you've accomplished in these 3 weeks is proof of concept that intentional change is possible and that you have the power to direct your own development. But maintaining and continuing this transformation for the long term requires a different set of strategies and mindsets than creating initial change. Most people make the mistake of thinking that once they've transformed, they can go back to autopilot and their new identity will maintain itself. But transformation is not a destination. It's a way of life. Your new identity requires ongoing attention, reinforcement, and evolution without conscious maintenance. Even the most dramatic transformations can gradually fade back toward old patterns. Long-term sustainability starts with understanding that your transformation is not complete after 21 days. It's established. You've created new neural pathways, new habits, and new ways of thinking. But these new patterns are still relatively weak compared to the old patterns that were developed over years or decades. Continued reinforcement is essential for making your new identity truly permanent. The key to sustainability is shifting from intensive transformation mode to maintenance mode. During the 21-day period, you are focused on creating dramatic change in a short time. Now you need to focus on integrating those changes so deeply that they become effortless and automatic. This requires a less intensive but more consistent approach. Daily identity reinforcement becomes a permanent part of your routine. But it doesn't need to be as time-intensive as during the initial transformation period. 5 minutes of morning visualization, brief identity check-ins throughout the day, and evening reflection can maintain the momentum you've built. The key is consistency rather than intensity. Continued growth requires setting new transformation goals once your current identity feels natural and automatic. Transformation is not a one-time event. It's a lifestyle. Once you've mastered confidence, you might focus on developing leadership. Once you've developed leadership, you might focus on deepening wisdom. Once you've developed wisdom, you might focus on expanding compassion. there's always another level of growth available. This progressive approach to transformation prevents stagnation and keeps you moving forward rather than backward. Your brain is either growing or dying, expanding or contracting. By continuously setting new growth goals, you maintain the neuroplasticity and momentum that make transformation possible. Environmental evolution is crucial for long-term sustainability. As you continue to grow, your environment needs to grow with you. The environment that supported your initial transformation may become limiting as you reach higher levels of development. Regularly audit and upgrade your physical environment, social environment, and digital environment to match your expanding identity. This might mean joining new communities as you outgrow old ones. It might mean upgrading your living or working space as your success increases. It might mean finding new mentors who can guide you to levels you haven't reached yet. Your environment should always be pulling you forward rather than holding you back. Building a transformation support system becomes increasingly important for long-term growth. This includes mentors who are where you want to be, peers who are growing at a similar pace, and people you're mentoring who benefit from your growth. This support system provides accountability, inspiration, and perspective that keeps you moving forward. Regular transformation reviews are essential for maintaining momentum and direction. Monthly and quarterly reviews allow you to assess your progress, identify areas that need attention, and set new goals for continued growth. These reviews prevent drift and ensure that you're always moving toward your highest potential rather than just maintaining the status quo. Developing transformation skills as a permanent part of your identity is crucial for long-term success. The skills you've learned during this 21-day process: identity design, resistance management, environmental optimization, progress tracking, aren't just tools for this specific transformation. They're life skills that you can apply to any area you want to change or improve. Mastering these skills means you never have to feel stuck again. When you encounter new challenges or want to develop new capabilities, you have a proven process for creating change. You become someone who transforms rather than someone who hopes for transformation. This is perhaps the most valuable outcome of the entire process. Sharing your transformation with others becomes both a way to reinforce your own changes and a way to contribute to the world. Teaching others what you've learned, mentoring people who are where you used to be, and modeling transformation for your community reinforces your own identity while helping others discover their potential. This sharing doesn't have to be formal or professional. It can be as simple as being an example of what's possible, supporting friends who want to grow, or sharing your story when appropriate. The act of helping others transform strengthens your own transformation and creates a positive cycle of growth and contribution. Embracing identity evolution is perhaps the most important mindset for long-term sustainability. Your identity today is not your final identity. The person you become after this 21-day transformation is not the person you're meant to be forever. Transformation is an ongoing process of becoming more authentic, more capable, and more aligned with your highest potential. This means being willing to continue challenging yourself, questioning your assumptions, and growing beyond your current comfort zone. It means staying curious about what's possible rather than becoming attached to any particular version of yourself. It means viewing transformation not as fixing something broken, but as continuously expanding into more of who you're capable of being. The ultimate goal of sustainable transformation is reaching a state where growth becomes natural and automatic rather than forced and effortful. When you've truly integrated the transformation lifestyle, You don't have to push yourself to grow. You're naturally drawn toward opportunities for expansion. Change becomes exciting rather than threatening. Challenges become opportunities rather than obstacles. And transformation becomes a source of joy rather than stress. This is when transformation stops being something you do and becomes who you are. You become a person who naturally evolves, adapts, and expands. You become someone who doesn't just react to life but consciously creates their experience. You become the architect of your own becoming, continuously designing and redesigning yourself to match your expanding vision of what's possible. Chapter 15. The Transformed You and Beyond. As we reach the end of this 21-day journey, it's important to recognize that the person reading these words is fundamentally different from the person who started this process 3 weeks ago. You may not feel dramatically different in every moment, but transformation often happens so naturally that we don't notice the magnitude of change until we look back from where we've come. The neural pathways in your brain have been rewired. The automatic thoughts that arise in your mind have shifted. The decisions you make naturally align more closely with your highest potential. The way you carry yourself, speak to yourself, and see yourself has evolved. These changes may feel subtle because they've been integrated gradually, but their impact on your life will be profound and lasting. Take a moment to honestly assess how you've changed over these 21 days. How do you handle challenges differently now? What thoughts come automatically that didn't before? How has your confidence, your energy, your sense of possibility shifted? What actions are you taking now that you wouldn't have taken 3 weeks ago? What old patterns have you broken? What new patterns have you established? This assessment isn't about perfection or dramatic overnight change. It's about recognizing the real, measurable shifts that have occurred in your identity and your life. These shifts are the foundation for all future growth and the evidence that continued transformation is not only possible but inevitable when you apply these principles consistently. Understanding the ripple effects of your transformation is crucial as you move forward. Your personal changes don't just affect you. They affect everyone whose life you touch. Your increased confidence influences how others see their own potential. Your improved decision-making inspires others to examine their own choices. Your elevated energy and enthusiasm becomes contagious in your relationships and communities. You've become a source of possibility for others, often without even realizing it. People notice when someone is operating from a higher level, even if they can't articulate what's different. Your transformation gives others permission to consider their own growth and shows them that change is possible. This is one of the most meaningful aspects of personal development, the way it naturally extends beyond the individual to benefit the collective. The skills you've developed during this process are now permanent parts of your identity. You know how to consciously design and embody a new identity. You know how to overcome resistance and maintain momentum. You know how to create environments that support your growth. You know how to track progress and celebrate wins. You know how to navigate relationships during change. These are not just techniques you used for this transformation. They're life skills that will serve you in every future challenge and opportunity. This means you're no longer dependent on external circumstances, other people's approval, or lucky breaks to create the life you want. You have the internal tools and understanding to continuously design and redesign your experience. You've moved from being at the effect of your life to being at the cause of your life. This shift in locus of control is perhaps the most empowering result of the entire transformation process. As you continue beyond these 21 days, it's important to maintain what I call the transformation mindset. This is the understanding that you are not a fixed entity, but a continuously evolving being with unlimited potential for growth and change. This mindset keeps you open to new possibilities, resilient in the face of challenges, and excited about what you might become next. The transformation mindset also includes the understanding that setbacks and challenges are not evidence that you failed or that change is impossible. They're simply part of the human experience and opportunities to apply your transformation skills. Every challenge becomes a chance to strengthen your new identity and prove to yourself that you can handle whatever life presents. Looking toward the future, consider what your next level of transformation might involve. What aspects of your life or identity are you ready to evolve next? What new challenges are you ready to take on? What expanded version of yourself are you excited to become? The process you've learned can be applied to any area of life that needs improvement or growth. Maybe your next transformation focuses on your professional life, your relationships, your health, your creativity, or your contribution to the world. Maybe it involves developing completely new skills, exploring new interests, or taking on bigger challenges. The specific focus is less important than maintaining the momentum and continuing to grow. Consider also how you might share what you've learned with others. Your transformation story has power not just for you, but for anyone who might be inspired by your example. This doesn't mean you need to become a life coach or transformation expert, but it does mean being open to supporting others who are ready for their own growth journey. The most profound realization of successful transformation is understanding that who you are today is still not who you're ultimately meant to become. Your potential is not limited by your current capabilities, your past experiences, or your present circumstances. You are a being with infinite capacity for growth, adaptation, and evolution. This realization removes the pressure to get everything right immediately and replaces it with excitement about the ongoing journey of becoming. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be growing. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be willing to continue learning and evolving. As you integrate your transformation and plan for continued growth, remember that the most important changes are often invisible to others, and sometimes even to yourself. The shift in your internal dialogue, the increased alignment between your values and actions, the growing sense of agency and empowerment, these changes may not be dramatic or obvious, but they form the foundation for everything else in your life. Your transformation ripples out into every area of your existence. Better decisions create better results. Increased confidence opens new opportunities. Improved self-awareness leads to better relationships. Greater resilience allows you to take bigger risks and pursue bigger dreams. The changes you've made over these 21 days will continue to compound and multiply for years to come. The person you've become through this process is not the end point, it's the launching pad. You've proven to yourself that intentional change is possible, that you have more control over your life than you previously realized, and that the limitations you once accepted were largely self-imposed. This knowledge changes everything about what you believe is possible for your future. You are no longer someone who hopes for change, you are someone who creates change. You are no longer someone who dreams about a better life. You are someone who builds a better life. You are no longer someone who wonders if transformation is possible. You are someone who has transformed and will continue transforming for the rest of your life. This is not the end of your transformation journey. It's the end of the beginning. The real adventure starts now, as you apply these principles and skills to create a life that truly reflects your highest potential. The next 21 days await, and the next transformation is ready to begin whenever you are.